The knock wasn't loud. It wasn't even a knock, just fingers brushing wood, slow and strange. He opened the door like he always did, with his shoulder first and his breath held. They stood there barefoot, mud to their knees, hair stuck to their cheeks like spiderweb. He didn't say a word. The older one blinked. The younger one smiled. "Papa," she said. Just that. No hesitation, no question. Just Papa. His hands didn't move. His eyes stayed on the porch boards, where blood had dried years ago and never lifted, no matter how hard he scraped. They stepped past him like they knew the house. The younger one touched the edge of the table. The older one sat down in the chair his sister used to sit in before she died. She didn't speak, just stared at the kettle as if waiting for it to whistle. He shut the door, locked it. "Where's your mother?" he asked. The younger girl tilted her head. "Gone," she said. "Gone where?" Gone. "You got names?" "She doesn't talk," the younger one said. "But I do." "Then say it." "Her name's me," she said, shrugging. "I'm us." He sat slow. The chair creaked under him like it hadn't been used in years. The stove ticked. The walls breathed. "You hungry?" he asked. "We ate yesterday," the girl said. "Yesterday ain't food." He stood, opened the fridge, pulled a leftover biscuit and half an apple from a chipped plate. The older girl took it without blinking. The younger one said, "You got sugar." He poured molasses into a jar lid. She dipped her finger in and licked it. "You got a dog?" she asked. "Had one." "What happened?" He stopped barking. The sun wasn't up yet, but light had started bleeding in through the curtains. He looked at their feet. Cut up. Red. Bruised like they'd been running too far in the dark. "You walked?" "We followed the fence." "Which one?" "The barbed one." "That's not a road." "No," she said, "but it leads somewhere." He poured coffee. I watched it swirl black in the tin mug. "Where's your people?" "Gone," she said again. He looked at the older girl. Her eyes didn't shift, didn't flinch. He asked her, "You mute?" The younger one said, "She just saves her words." Something about the way they sat, too still, too calm, tugged at a place in his chest he thought was dead. He moved to the sink. Run the water. Let it splash over his hand till the heat stung. "Have you been here before?" "Not really," the girl said. "But kinda." "What does that mean?" "It smells like where we were, before." He wiped his hand dry and said nothing. "Is it all right if we sleep?" she asked. "In the barn?" "It's cold out there." "We don't mind." "You'll sleep inside," he said. "Till I figure this out." They followed him down the hall like lambs. The younger one touched the walls, dragging her fingertips like she was reading. He opened the door to the spare room. The air smelled of mothballs and dust. He hadn't been there since before the funeral. The bed was still made. "You sleep here, both of you, for now." The older girl stepped in first. The younger paused. "You got a name?" "I do." "You gonna tell us?" "No," he said. She nodded. "Okay." She turned back to the room. "Papa works fine." He shut the door. I stood in the hall for a long time, listening. No whispering, no shuffling, just silence, thick and wrong. He went back to the kitchen, sat again, watched the bloodstain on the porch through the screen door. It hadn't rained in weeks. It should have flaked off by now, but it hadn't. He lit a cigarette. Didn't smoke it, just watched it burn. The sheriff would come, or someone worse. It always worked that way. He wasn't theirs. They weren't his. But something was already settled. Outside, the wind shifted. The trees didn't rustle. The barn groaned once. Far off, the kettle finally whistled, but he didn't move. Somewhere behind the walls, one of the girls laughed. It was soft. It was alone. And it didn't sound like a child. She left the door open again, wide, swinging, letting in the morning cold and the smell of iron from the troughs. He stepped into the barn barefoot, shirt unbuttoned, hair still wet from the sink. "Did you sleep out here last night?" The girl didn't answer. She stood in the corner with her back to him, arms wrapped around a beam like she'd fallen into it mid-dream. "Get inside." Her head moved, just enough to say she heard. "You hear me?" "I wasn't cold," she said. "That's not what I asked." She called again. He paused. "Who called?" "The one on the wall." "There's no one on the wall. She doesn't speak like people do. She says soft things." "You dreamt it." No, Papa. I only dream when I'm safe. He stepped forward, stopped at the hay line. You can't keep leaving the barn open. We got foxes, coyotes. They already came. When? Before we did. She turned and looked at him. Her eyes were wrong this morning. Darker, hungrier. She told me where they buried it. Buried what? The old girl, the one before us. He grabbed her shoulder. That's enough. She didn't flinch, just blinked. I didn't mean it, just saying what I heard. Get back in the house. Okay, Papa. She let go of the beam and walked past him barefoot. Mud clung to her nightgown like veins. He watched her go. Then I looked at the beam. 3 long scratches ran down it, fresh, raw, lower than a man's hand. He reached out and touched the wood. It was warm. Inside, the sheets were dirty again. Mud tracks from the door to the bed. The older girl sat at the table eating dry cereal by hand. Her hair was braided now. He hadn't seen her do it. He hadn't seen her move much at all. You watch her? He asked. She nodded. Why don't you stop her? She didn't blink, just lifted one hand and held up 2 fingers, then pointed to her mouth. You only speak for her? She lowered her hand. Or does she speak for you? She looked away. All right, he muttered. Forget what I asked. He stripped the sheets, hauled them outside, scrubbed them in the basin behind the shed. The stains didn't lift. The cold bit his knuckles until they turned red. The wind came from the west. It always came from the west now. He didn't know when that started. That night, he nailed the barn shut. Just 1 plank. Just enough. He didn't tell her. He just watched her eyes when she saw it. She didn't cry. She didn't fight. She walked back into the house and stood at the window. Hours passed. He pretended not to look. At midnight, he heard her feet again. Software familiar, like she knew every floorboard. He waited until the front door clicked, then counted to 10. Outside, the barn door swung open, wide, clean, quiet. He hadn't heard the nails come out. He stepped out barefoot. Ground cold. The air is colder. She stood inside the barn, her arms outstretched, turning slow in the dark, like she was dancing with something invisible. Who opened it? He asked. She did. There's no she. Not anymore. Tell me the truth. The truth doesn't like being told. I'm shy. Why are you out here? Because she never got to leave. Who? The old girl. She stopped turning. I looked at him. She's under the horse trough. He lit the lamp. I walked to the trough, shined the light beneath. Nothing, just dry earth and scattered hay. There's nothing here. Not now. So where is she? In me, she said. Or maybe in her. She turned to the house. The other girl was at the window again, watching, not blinking. The same braid, the same mouth, but the eyes felt older. We're not twins, the girl whispered. We're remembering. He didn't answer, didn't move. The wind pushed hard and sudden. The barn door slammed against the frame. The lamp flickered, then went out. The girl had already walked past him by the time he got it. The other one was gone from the window. The sheets were muddy again by morning. The cruiser sat still at the base of the drive. The dust hadn't even settled yet. He knew the sound, that slow uphill crunch, like someone thinking too hard about coming. The engine didn't shut off, didn't move forward either, just hummed like a dog growling through its teeth. He watched from behind the screen door, cigarette burning half to the filter. The porch boards creaked under him, even though he didn't shift. The girls were quiet. One was under the kitchen table, humming. The other was upstairs, standing in front of the mirror, breathing like she was afraid to. The sheriff didn't get out. He just leaned forward, arms braced on the wheel like it was holding him in place. Then he shook his head once, whispered something only the windshield heard. He reached for the door handle, then let it go. Backed up half an inch, lit a cigarette of his own. The smoke didn't rise. It clung. He finally stepped out, slow. One boot first, then the other. The hat stayed on. No radio, no clipboard. Just his hand resting on the grip of something he didn't draw. The man on the porch didn't wave, didn't move. The sheriff stood beside the driver's door and said it low. Not again. No louder than wind through dry grass. What do you want, Mason? The rancher called out. Just checking in. From down there? Looks far, doesn't it? Come on up. No need. Are you afraid of the porch? No, Mason said. I'm afraid of what keeps showing up on it. He didn't answer, just flicked the cigarette off the side. They're yours. Not by blood. That's not what I asked. Don't know who they are. Then why are they here? Same reason anything shows up broken. Nowhere else to go. You didn't call it in. Didn't think I had to. You always do. I used to, he said, when you still knocked. The sheriff looked past him toward the window. The younger girl had come out from under the table. She pressed her face to the glass. Didn't blink. Didn't move. That one, Mason said. She's been sleepwalking, among other things. Does she say anything strange? Every word strange. She got a name yet? She said both of their names. Does that mean anything to you? No. Does it feel like it should? Maybe. Mason rubbed the back of his neck. I looked up at the barn. She opened it again. Twice. That's 3 times then. I know how to count. And you still haven't called me? You're here now. You think that means I'm not already too late? The rancher stepped down 2 boards. You came because something itched at the base of your neck. I came because the station got quiet when I mentioned your name. Does that happen often? Only when something's about to end. The girl was still watching. The older one was at the door now, behind the screen. He hadn't heard her come down. She didn't say a word, just stood there, hands loose at her sides, like they didn't belong to her. Mason took 1 step forward. She tilted her head. His foot stopped midair. You ever get a report from Mill Road? The rancher asked. Which part? The part with the crawl space. We don't mention that anymore. Might be time to. You sure you want to open that again? It's already open. Mason looked at the barn again. His jaw tightened. You nailed it shut. Every night. Still open. Every time. How? They don't use the door. Then what do they use? Whatever came first, he said. Before doors. Before names. The sheriff didn't move for a long time. Then he turned, stepped back toward the cruiser, hands heavy at his sides. I'll be back tomorrow. Why not today? Because something's watching, and I ain't ready to look back yet. How do you sleep? Only when I lie about it. He got in. Didn't slam the door. Just shut it like a man afraid of hearing the sound. The engine turned over once. He didn't glance up again. As the cruiser rolled backward down the drive, the wind lifted a handful of dead leaves from the porch and scattered them across the bloodstain near the step. The girl behind the screen door whispered, "He knows." The rancher didn't answer. He already knew that too. The knock this time was fast, knuckles sharp, no pause, the kind that came with a clipboard. He didn't open it right away, just let her knock again, 3 times total. "Mr. Harlan," she said, voice flat. "It's Ms. Calder, from the school." He opened the door slowly. She stood stiff, a thin coat too bright for the porch. "You want to tell me what happened?" "To who?" "You know who." "If I did," he said, "I wouldn't be asking." She held up a sheet. Standard report. Boxed, check marks. Half of it is already signed. The nurse saw marks. Deep ones. Back and thighs. She fell? She flinched when I reached for the pencil sharpener. That doesn't mean I'm not accusing you. Then why are you here? Because bruises like that come from someone's hand. And she said she lives with you. She does. You her guardian? Not officially. But she calls you Papa. That doesn't make it legal. Ms. Calder shifted her stance. The porch creaked under her boots. I've seen it before. Girls showing up with names that aren't theirs. Towns looking the other way. This town's always looked the other way. But I don't. Good for you, he said. But you're still not stepping inside. I don't need to, she said. I just need to know she's safe. She is. You sure? She sleeps. She eats. She smiles when it's quiet. Did she talk about it before? She says there was no before, just after. And the other one. Watch her sleep, like she's waiting for her to forget. Ms. Calder softened, just a little. She said something strange. They both do. She asked what mercy meant. He looked past her, toward the barn, toward the window where no face watched this time. She said it like she'd never heard it spoken before. Not soft anyway. You think I did it? No. Then who? I think she's carrying someone else's memory. You think she's pretending? No, she said. I think she was taught not to cry. He stepped out onto the porch, pulled the door shut behind him. Have you ever seen a calf beaten for walking too far from the pen? No. It doesn't cry either. It just stands still next time. That's supposed to help me sleep. It's supposed to help you understand. Understand what? That some bruises come from before you were ever touched. They stood in silence. Her fingers gripped the clipboard tighter. There's a process for this. I'm sure. I'm supposed to report it. Then do. But I won't. Why? Because the last girl I reported disappeared a week later. The whole family moved. No forwarding address. Mill Road. How'd you know? He didn't answer. She stepped down one stair. You can't save them alone. Not trying to. Then what are you doing? Waiting. For what? For her to tell me the real name. You think that'll change anything? Maybe. She won't tell you. I know. Why not? Because she doesn't think she deserves to be called anything better. Ms. Calder nodded, quiet now, like something old in her had finally settled. I can look the other way for a while, but if it gets worse, it won't. If she stops speaking, she won't. If you leave them alone, I don't. Then we're square. We've never been square, he said, and she didn't argue. She turned back to the road. Do you mind if I ask one more thing? Depends. Who's the belt for? It hangs on the wall. It's not dusted. I keep it there in case they remember it wrong. And do they? The younger one does. And the older, she remembers everything right. Ms. Calder walked to her car, opened the door, didn't get in, just looked back once. They won't cry in front of you. I don't need them to. You should. Why? Because when they finally do, she said, you'll be the one who won't know what to do with it. He watched her drive away. The dust followed her out like it always did. Inside, the younger girl sat at the table, eating dry bread slowly, piece by piece. The older one stood by the wall, staring at the belt. Her hands didn't shake. Her mouth didn't move. He walked past them both, said nothing, closed the back door tight behind him. Somewhere under the floorboards, he swore he heard someone breathing. The coat tore by accident, hooked on the corner of the barn gate. He meant to toss it in the bin, an old thing too thin for cold mornings, sleeves unraveling, but something in the lining tugged when he yanked it free. A crunch, not paper, stiff clothes, square and stitched in tight, like it didn't want to be found. He brought it inside, set it on the table, slit the hem with his pocket knife. The girls watched without blinking. The younger with her feet tucked up under her. The older woman stood with her, arms crossed, still as bone. The paper was yellowed, folded once, then again, edges stitched with red thread, like blood drawn too clean. He unfolded it slowly. A name, a place, a date. The name hit first. Samuel Nett. He said it out loud. The younger girl flinched. The older one closed her eyes. You know him? He asked. No, the younger whispered, but you do. You're too young to know that name. We remember differently. He was gone before you were born. He's not gone. The rancher sat down, let her loose in his hand. This is old. Not to her, the girl said. What's the date? April 12th, 15 years back. That's before they found the basement, she said. What basement? The one they filled with salt. The one they said never existed. Where'd you hear that? It's in the humming. That ain't an answer. That's all I have. The older girl finally moved, walked to the stove, poured water into the kettle like it was hers to do. She didn't speak. She didn't look at him. He was my brother-in-law, the man said. Married to my sister before she passed. Passed how? In pieces. And him. Vanished after. Left behind her journals. Her teeth. Did you bury her? What was left? And him. No grave. Maybe he's still waiting for one. The letter was short, fewer than 10 lines. A name at the top, a signature at the bottom, and in between, instructions. Not commands, rituals. Salt in the corners, ash in the center. A child must walk through it barefoot to bind the threshold. He read the words twice. I didn't speak for a long time. The kettle screamed. The older girl didn't move to take it off. The younger finally rose, turned the flame down, hands small and sure. Why was this in your coat? He asked. It was there when we found it. You didn't stitch it in? No. Then who? The one before us. Who was that? She didn't tell us her name. She wore this coat. She didn't get to keep it. He folded the letter and slid it into his back pocket. You should have told me. You didn't ask. I'm asking now. We don't know anything. But you remember everything. That's not the same, she said. He walked to the window. I looked out toward the barn. The beam she once hugged was splintered now. The trough still dragged 1 inch to the left every morning, like it had been pulled by something without arms. Samuel Nett, he whispered. If he's back. He's not. Then what is? What he tried to put away. The older girl finally spoke. Her voice was low, dry. He used us before, not our bodies, just our names. Why? Names are keys. If you speak them wrong, the doors stay open. You're saying he made you into someone else? He made us into echoes. The rancher turned from the window. That's madness. Then why do you believe it? Because the barn creaks when there's no wind. Because the sheriff won't knock. Because I found this letter in a coat meant for the burn pile. Then you understand, the younger one said. You're part of it now. He looked down at the coat, then at his own hands. Dirt under the nails, blood in the cut from the knife, the kind of blood that dries too dark. He stepped outside, lit a match, watched it burn down to his fingers. The wind changed again, west to east this time, carried something sweet and wrong on it. Inside, the girls were quiet. The older one sat at the table now, the younger beside her. Neither blinked, neither looked scared. What now? He asked. Now, the older one said, we remembered together. He was fixing the fence when she asked, the younger one leaning against the post with a stick in her hand and something off in her eyes. Can you take us there? He kept hammering. Where's there? Mill Road. He missed the post. The nail bent sideways. He didn't look at her. Who told you about that? She did. Your sister. She's not my sister. Then who is she? She's me from before. He paused. What do you think's out there? Her bones, she said. And his shirt. Inside, the older girl had drawn a picture on the back of an old feed invoice. A house, lopsided, smoke from the chimney, 2 windows and a door. But something was wrong with the scale. The windows were too high. The door was too small. The tree beside it had no branches, just hands. When he asked where she'd seen it, she only smiled and slid it under the kettle. The rancher lit a cigarette that night, didn't smoke it, and sat at the table for an hour, staring at the place where the paper had been. The next morning, they were already dressed, standing by the truck with their hands behind their backs like they'd been told to wait there. He didn't ask how they knew he was going. He didn't tell them he was. The older girl sat in the bed. The younger one slid into the passenger seat without opening the door first. Are you sure about this? He asked. We're not afraid of it, she said. Then why haven't you been back? You don't return to places that remember you too well. He drove slowly. The road curved away from the county line, dipped between 2 hills, then flattened into silence. No birds, no fences, just long grass on both sides like something hiding teeth. People say the house sunk in, he said. Foundation cracked. The roof gave way. That's not what they say, she replied. What do they say? That it folded. Folded? In on itself, like paper, like skin. You don't know what that means. Neither do they. The truck rolled to a stop just shy of the turnoff. The sign was gone. Just 2 nails, left in the post. The path was more mud than gravel, weeds swallowing the tracks. No one's been here in years, he muttered. Not with their bodies, she said. But parts of people still come. He left the engine running, got out, looking at the sky like it might give him a reason to turn back. It didn't. The house came into view slowly, like it didn't want to be seen. The porch sagged to one side. A window pane hung by a single hinge. A boot sat in the dirt, half covered in moss. Don't touch anything, he said. Too late, the younger girl whispered. She stepped forward, barefoot again. Her prints left nothing in the soil. The door opened before he reached it. No wind, no noise. It just eased back, slow, like something inside was ready. The older girl stood on the porch. She didn't look scared. She smiled. We're home, she said. You've never been here, he snapped. She has, the younger one said. I remember now. Inside, the air smelled like vinegar and dirt. He coughed. The girls didn't. They moved like they knew where the soft boards were. The living room had no furniture, just salt along the walls. He noticed it then. 4 corners, perfectly marked. Someone's tried to keep something in. No, the younger one corrected. tried to keep something out. What was it? Him. Or what he turned into. He walked toward the back. The door to the cellar was nailed shut. 7 nails, bent at wrong angles, symbols drawn in chalk above the frame. Who did this? He asked. Not the sheriff, the older girl said. He never came this far. You did, the younger added. No, I didn't. Not with your legs. With your forgetting. He turned fast. Don't talk like that. Like what? Like you know things you can't know. We don't know, she said. We remember. Same difference. Not really. He pushed the door open. The frame cracked. The nails popped like brittle teeth. The cellar stairs groaned. The dark smelled wet, old, sick. The girls didn't follow. He looked back. Are you staying up here? We already saw it, the younger said. When? Before we were born. He went down with one hand on the wall. No light, just instinct. The floor was dirt, damp. Something had been dragged. Scrape marks, nails, a ring of ash near the far wall, and in the middle, a photograph. Black and white, faded, 2 girls, same dresses, same braids, same eyes. But the faces were blurred, not by time, by hands. He came back up slowly, heart pounding, skin cold. The girls were sitting on the porch, facing the road, not speaking. He stepped outside, closed the door behind him. We're not coming back here, he said. We never left, the younger replied. They rode in silence. The road seemed longer on the way back. Trees leaned closer. The sun dipped without him noticing. When he pulled up to the house, the engine didn't cut right. It sputtered, choked, died. The girls didn't wait. They went inside like they belonged there. That night, he burned the picture. It didn't catch right away. It took too long. Curled slowly like it was trying to speak before it vanished. He stood by the window long after the smoke cleared, watched the barn, watched the sky, listened to the wind press against the glass like it remembered his name. He tried everything, dragged hay into the threshold, tossed feed, whispered soft like he used to, but none of the animals would go inside, not the goats, not the old mare, not even the stray cat that liked to sleep on the rafters. They stopped at the doorway, stared in, turned away. He looked inside himself and saw nothing wrong, no nests, no smell, no rot, just the same hollow dark that never fully gave back what went in. He stood at the entrance that afternoon, hands on his hips, and said slowly, You looking at me? She was humming again that night. Same time, same rhythm, same 2-note pattern that drifted from the upstairs room like smoke from a slow fire. It didn't change, didn't rise, just held. The first time, he thought she was dreaming. The second time, he realized it was only the older one humming, never the younger. She never joined in, never even looked up when it started, just sat with her knees to her chest and watched the wall like something was on the other side of it. Why that song? He asked. The girl didn't stop humming, just dropped her voice 1 note lower. Why now? The tune paused, hung in the air, then started over. Is that your way of answering? The younger girl stood from the floor and whispered, She's not humming for you. Then who? She's humming back. To what? To the barn. He stared up at the ceiling. What the hell does that mean? It hums too, she said. That night, he walked outside with a flashlight and his coat undone. The barn didn't creak. It didn't move. It just stood there in the field like it had always stood. But the light didn't reach the back wall. It stopped halfway in like the dark was thicker than usual. He took 2 steps forward, boots crunching hay. The silence inside pressed against his ears. No owl, no wind. He turned off the flashlight and stood still. And then, just faintly, like it came from the roof or under the floor, he heard it, a hum. Not musical, not human, not even full. Just a vibration slow and wide, like a throat that had never learned words but remembered sound. He turned the flashlight back on. Nothing moved, but he didn't stay. The next morning, the girl was outside before he was. She stood facing the barn with her hands behind her back. The older one not blinking, not rocking, just waiting. Are you going in there? He asked. No, she said. Why not? Because it's full. Of what? Names. He crossed his arms. What? Kinda names. Ones we forgot to forget. You're talking nonsense. "No," she said. "You're just not ready." The mare hadn't eaten. The feed went untouched. Chickens refused the far side of the yard. The dog wouldn't leave the porch. Something had shifted. It wasn't loud, it wasn't violent, but it was total. That night, the humming came again. Same time, 10:43 by the stove clock. He waited at the foot of the stairs, didn't speak, just listened. The younger girl passed him without a glance, sat by the door. The older one stayed upstairs. The notes slid through the walls. "You know the tune?" he asked. The younger girl nodded. "Where's it from?" "She used to hum it when we were in the box." "What box?" "The one under the last house. The one that wasn't supposed to be there." He turned to her. "There was a cellar?" "No." "Then how were you in a box?" "It wasn't part of the house. It was part of the land." "What did it look like?" "Wood on all sides. One crack in the ceiling, just wide enough to see her mouth." "Whose mouth?" "The girl before me." "Your sister?" "She's not my sister." "Then who is she?" She looked up at him. "She's the one that went first." He sat on the bottom step, heart tight. "Is that why she hums?" "She hums so it won't forget her." "What is it?" "The barn." He rubbed his face with both hands, stood, pushed the door open, and stepped out again. The barn stood like always. But tonight, the top window was open, just slightly, just enough to see into the black. The hum started again, this time louder, not hers, from the barn. And this time, it matched the pitch exactly. He shut the door hard. Inside, the girl had stopped. The younger one smiled. "I heard her." He didn't speak. He walked to the stove, turned the knob, and watched the flame come up. Something about fire still made sense. The barn watched. The barn waited. And now it had a voice. The car wasn't local. Too clean. Too quiet. No dust on the tires. No rust on the grill. It turned onto the drive like it had directions printed from somewhere east and polite. The girls didn't watch from the window. They already knew he was coming. The older one stood in the hallway, her arms folded, humming low, but not the same tune as before. The younger had her shoes on, which she never did. When the knock came, it wasn't sharp or nervous. Just 3 balanced raps. Efficient. He opened the door. A man stood there in a tan suit with soft hands and no hat. "Good afternoon. I'm with County Services." "What kind?" "Family Placement Oversight. My name's Benjamin Cross." "Badge?" The man offered a card. It was laminated. New. "We've had a few flagged inconsistencies in the census. Children where there shouldn't be." "You make a habit of driving out for that?" "Only when the forms are blank." He didn't move from the doorway. "You're not with the sheriff?" "No, sir. The sheriff stopped responding to state documentation 3 years ago." Smart man. "I'd like to ask a few questions." "You already are." "Inside." "No." The lawyer sighed, smoothed his collar. "There are 2 girls here, both listed as non-registered dependents. No school forms processed, no birth certificate submitted. That's a problem." "Why?" "Because the state doesn't know they exist." "They do now." "That's not funny." "I wasn't laughing." "I'm not here to accuse you." "Then why are you shaking?" The lawyer glanced down at his clipboard, then up at the window. "How long have they been with you?" "Couple weeks." "Where did they come from?" "They walked." "No, where did you get them from?" "I didn't get them. I opened the door." The lawyer scribbled something. "And you are Mr. Harlan, correct?" "Depends who's asking." "I just did." "I never filed anything." "Exactly. No birth records, no military ID, no tax documents, no land deed transfers." The rancher folded his arms. "But the house is here." "Yes, but you're not." "That's supposed to scare me." "It's supposed to concern you." "Not the same thing." The lawyer looked over his shoulder toward the car. "Can I speak with the children?" "No." "Why not?" "Because they're not children right now." "I'm sorry?" "They're listening. That's not the same as speaking." He tried to peer past the doorframe. The older girl had moved. Now she stood at the far end of the hallway, arms at her sides. The humming had stopped. The younger one was gone from view. "Are they safe here?" "Safe as they can be." "With you?" "Especially with me." "Mr. Harlan, without paperwork, I can't validate this placement. I can't validate you." "Maybe I don't want to be validated." "Well, the state does." "That's their problem." The lawyer stepped back, adjusted his tie. "We ran a check." "On what?" "Your name." He didn't respond. "There's no record." "Does that scare you?" There's no school attendance, no employment history, no government affiliation. I've been right here. That doesn't make you real. Don't need to be real. Just a present. And yet, the lawyer said, voice soft now, you own no bank account, no social number, no tax file. This house isn't even in your name. I never claimed it was. Then whose is it? Yours now, maybe. That's not how that works. He looked past the lawyer toward the car again. The tires were now dusty. A crack had spread through the windshield, small but new. You should leave before the barn notices you. What? You brought the smell with you. I'm sorry. You smell like ink. And salt. What does that mean? It means whatever you think you're here for, it isn't this. I have to file a report. Then file it. But I need a name. You won't find one. I need to write something. He stepped back, letting the door swing partway closed. Then write what they wrote for me. What's that? Unknown. The door didn't slam. It just shut. The man stood on the porch alone for a while, flipping his folder open, scanning blank forms with fresh eyes that didn't quite know what to make of what they hadn't seen. Inside, the girls sat at the table. The older one reached for a pencil, dragged it across the paper without looking. A spiral, then another, not overlapping, not touching. The rancher leaned against the sink. He'll be back. The younger girl nodded. They always send another. What do you think they'll want next? A name, she said. But not yours. He looked down at his hands. They felt heavier now, older, less than. The papers on the counter caught a gust from the cracked window. The lawyer's card slid to the floor. On the back, in red ink, someone had written 2 words. Not his writing, not the lawyer's either. We remember. He saw her from the window, knees in the dirt, small hands working slow, like the ground was soft bread. No urgency, just steady digging. Fingers not minding the cold. She hadn't asked permission. She hadn't told anyone. Just walked out before breakfast, a rusted spoon from the drawer tucked into the sleeve of her nightgown. The porch boards creaked behind her, and she didn't flinch. What are you doing? He asked, stepping onto the top stair. She kept digging. She told me it was here. Who? She didn't leave a name. You're using a spoon. She said not to use metal that cuts. You think that makes sense? It made sense to her. He didn't answer, just sat on the porch and lit a match. The smoke from his cigarette rose straight up. No wind. He watched the girl. Her back moved in slow rhythm like she was rocking something invisible to sleep. The dirt around her knees had turned darker, wetter. Her spoon scraped something hard. She paused, put both hands in the soil, and lifted. A small white shape came up in her grip. She turned and held it out. Is that a doll? He asked. She's not playing. He stood and stepped down slowly. When he got closer, he saw it clearer. Porcelain, cracked. One eye is missing. The face wasn't smooth like normal dolls. It had lines etched into it. Not decorative, deliberate. Its mouth was open, too wide, and not smiling. Where'd you say you got that? She was waiting. He knelt. It looks like... Don't say it, she said sharply. Say what? You'll make her come back. The older girl stood in the doorway now, barefoot, hair braided, no expression, just staring at the doll in her sister's hands. She's watching you, the younger whispered. The doll? Number her. Who? The one it used to belong to. The doll's dress was torn, stiff with age. There was something inside it, bulging under the hem. He reached for it. Don't, the girl said. He stopped. Why? She hid her name in there. That's cloth. She wrote it in blood. He looked at the older girl. You believe this? She didn't nod. She didn't speak. Just looked back toward the field like she wasn't supposed to answer. He sat on the step, doll in hand, and pulled out his knife. She said not to cut it, the younger woman warned. She's not here. She never left. He sliced the seam. Inside, a strip of paper, old, curled, damp with soil, faded ink, fewer letters than he expected. What's it say? The younger girl asked. Just a J. That's how she signed it, she said. You sure? We remember her. Who was she? She was before us. The older girl stepped down the stairs. I walked past him. I stood beside her sister and looked at the hole. She buried herself, she said. He turned. What do you mean? She didn't want him to find her again. Who? Same man you burned the letter from. His stomach sank. Samuel Nett. The girls nodded, same time, same breath. She lived here? He asked. No, said the younger one. She escaped here. Escaped from where? Mill Road. He looked down at the doll again. The paint around the mouth had chipped, but underneath was something strange, something darker than paint. She bit him once, the girl said. The doll? The girl. The older girl whispered, he stitched her mouth for it. His hand tightened. What kind of man? He wasn't a man anymore. The wind picked up just a gust, but it moved the loose dirt around the hole, revealed something else, another piece of cloth, a second doll. He reached in, pulled gently. It wasn't a doll, it was a child's shoe. Faded leather, scorched along the toe. The laces were tied too tight, knotted wrong. She wore those when they took her. The younger girl said, Who took her? Your family. He froze. The older girl spoke again. Not you, maybe, but the blood before you. He stood, backed away. That's not possible. It doesn't matter, she said. The barn remembers. He turned to the house. That doesn't mean it's true. She buried what she couldn't kill, the younger one said. But you built it over. That was a long time ago. Time doesn't mean much to things that don't sleep. The wind changed. East again. The dog barked once, then stopped. He walked inside, poured water. His hands shook. The girls came in quietly. The older one held the doll now. They sat at the table. He stared at them. You want to burn it? He asked. No, the younger one said. We're supposed to listen to it. He shook his head. It's just porcelain. Then why do you keep looking at its mouth? He didn't answer. Outside, the hole still yawned open. Under the porch, the dirt had started to shift again. The envelope came in plain. No return address, just his name, if it was still his name, typed clean across the front. He didn't open it right away, just stared at it while the kettle boiled and the dog paced, and the younger girl sat at the table braiding her own hair like she'd never done it before. The older girl wasn't downstairs. She hadn't been since the night before. Still in the bedroom, still humming. You want to know what it says? He asked. The younger girl nodded, quiet. I already do. Then why haven't you read it? Because it's written in a way I can't change. She blinked at him. You think it matters? It should. Then open it. He did. The paper was smooth, no wrinkles, no signature, just a few lines typed, simple, too simple. Only one blood type was confirmed, one genetic profile, one child, one. He looked up slowly. They were never twins. She looked down at the braid in her lap. No. Then who's the other one? I don't know. You sure? No. He sat. The chair creaked like it hadn't been used in 100 years. I thought I was imagining it, he said. You weren't. I saw you both in the yard once. We were both there. But only you had a shadow. I know. And she never left footprints. She doesn't like to be followed. He rubbed his jaw, eyes locked on the paper. So what is she? The girl looked up. Her eyes were wrong again. Too still, too much sky in them. She was made from the part of me that couldn't leave. That's not real. It is, if you believe it. He crumpled the paper, threw it into the fireplace. The flames caught it before it hit the bottom. I've seen her open doors. She opens the ones I'm scared of. She stands at the barn at night. She listens when I can't. She hums. She was taught. By who? Someone that didn't survive. He stood, pushed the chair back hard enough that it scraped the floor. You want me to believe you're sharing your mind with a ghost? She's not a ghost. Then what is she? She's the bruise I never got to heal. He walked to the door, stared out at the barn again. The door was ajar. Just an inch. Just enough. You think I'm crazy, she said. No, he muttered. I think I am. She's not trying to hurt you. Then, what does she want? To finish something. He turned. Finish what? She never got to leave. The floorboards creaked upstairs. Slow, measured, not childlike. He didn't move. Is she up there? She's always been up there. But you're sitting here. I know. The stairs groaned, one by one. The kind of sound you don't imagine. The kind you remember. He reached for the fireplace poker, gripped it hard. You're not going to need that, the girl said. I'm not taking chances. She doesn't need to be stopped. Then why is she coming down now? Because the paper told you. He backed up to the kitchen. The girl stayed in her seat, hands folded now, Braid finished. The figure at the stairs appeared in pieces. A hand first, then a foot. The hem of a dress. The hair was wrong, looser, older. The face was wrong too, familiar but distant. Not hers. She didn't blink. She didn't breathe. "You're not her," he said. She tilted her head, one side. "I was." "No." "Yes." "You don't exist." She smiled. "That's what they said before." The younger girl looked at her. "Are you ready now?" The older one nodded. "Yes." "To go back?" "To finish." The room dimmed, not like dusk, like memories. "You're not staying," he said. "No," the girl replied. "She needs to remember alone now." "I won't let you take her." "I'm not taking anything." He stepped forward. The older girl reached out, just one finger pressed against his chest, and the hum started again, but this time it came from inside the walls. The girl vanished before his eyes. No scream, no light, just gone. The house settled. The shadows returned to normal. The clock ticked again. He turned to the younger girl. "What just happened?" She let go. "Of what?" "The name that wasn't hers." He dropped the poker, sat down. "I don't understand." "You're not supposed to," she said. "You're just supposed to stay." And for the first time since they arrived, she looked like she might cry. The storm came in sideways, snapping trees at the base and lifting dirt like it had claws. He was on the porch, hand around a coffee mug he didn't remember making, staring into the wind that refused to die down. The house creaked behind him. The dog was gone, buried 2 days ago behind the barn without a name on the stone. The girl hadn't spoken all morning. She just stood at the window with her fingers pressed to the glass, her breath fogging a small circle she never wiped away. The older one was still gone, vanished into silence like fog lifting off a field. The girl opened the door. Quiet, like she'd been waiting for the wind to hide the sound. "You need to come with me," she said. "To the barn?" She nodded. "Not tonight," he muttered. "Yes, tonight." The door's nailed. "Shut. It isn't anymore." He looked past her. She was barefoot again. Her toes were red from cold, her hair clinging to the sides of her face like string. She wasn't shivering. "It's not safe out there." "It's never been safe," she said. "That's not the point." He stood, slow. His legs were stiff. He hadn't slept. Not really. Not since the humming stopped. The house had gone too quiet, like it was waiting for something that hadn't been named yet. "What's waiting out there?" he asked. "You," she said, "the rest of you." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "You left part of yourself behind. I've never been inside that barn." "That's what you told yourself." She turned without waiting, walked into the storm like it wasn't there. The porch door banged open. He hesitated for exactly 3 seconds, then followed. The wind slapped him sideways. The rain felt hot on his neck. He stepped into it without thinking. She was already halfway across the field. The barn stood open, not swinging, not howling, just open, like a throat. She waited at the threshold. "I can't go in there," he said. "You already did." "I'm not part of this." "You built this." "I didn't build anything." "Yes, you did," she said. You believed him. The barn smelled like copper, like the inside of a wet mouth. She walked in first. Her feet left no prints in the mud. He did. Heavy. Deep. Like they didn't want to leave. The center of the barn had changed. The salt lines were back. The ashes formed a circle, and in the middle, nothing. Just soil, packed and dark, the shape of a bed. "You said I wasn't the one," he said. "You're not." "Then why bring me?" "Because the ones before you broke it." "Broke what?" "The chain." She stepped into the circle. He didn't move. She reached out her hand. "Come," she said. "You won't feel it this time." "I'm not ready." "You were born ready." She grabbed his wrist. He tried to pull away. Her grip was stronger than it should have been. His knees buckled. She caught him under the arms, dragged him across the hay like it was nothing. Rain banged on the roof. The boards creaked once, then stopped. He didn't speak. She pulled him into the center of the circle and knelt beside him. "You called us here." "I didn't." "Yes, you did. You forgot the name." "I never knew it." "You erased it." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a key. Old, blackened, bent at the tip. "This unlocks the bottom." "There's no lock." "There is now." She pushed it into the ground beside him, pressed until it vanished. The hum started again. He gritted his teeth. "I don't want this." "You took it when you lied." "I didn't lie." You let the others bury it. You weren't there. I was." Underneath, he looked at her face. It wasn't hers. It wasn't the girl's anymore. The eyes were too deep, too patient. "You're not her," he whispered. "No." "Then who?" "I'm the one who kept watch." "I don't understand." "You don't need to." She pressed a finger to his chest. The barn rumbled. The floor split along a seam. The hole opened slowly, like something stretching after sleep. "You're going in," she said. "I'm not." "You are." "No." "You've been here before." She dragged him again. He kicked. She didn't stop. The dirt was cold. When his body hit it, he gasped. It felt like teeth. "You can't leave me here," he said. "I'm not," she said. "I'm putting you back." She stood above him, let the rain soak her hair flat. The barn door stayed open. The wind stopped, and from somewhere behind her, a new hum began. Not high, not low, but familiar. It was his voice. She lives alone now. Had for a long time. No visitors. No mail. No phone ringing in the dark. The house stood the same way it always had, with its back to the hills and its face to the wind, windows thick with dust, and one screen door that never fully latched. The barn still stood, but no one went near it. Not even her. Not anymore. Not since the night the storm ended and the wind changed and the humming stopped for good. No one used her name. Not because they didn't want to, but because they didn't remember it. Not the sheriff. Not the old schoolteacher who passed her once in the market and frowned like she was staring through a memory she didn't file correctly. Not even the preacher's wife, who swore she had once baptized a girl on that land but couldn't remember the year or the girl's face, or if the water had even been cold. People called her the ranch girl, or just her. She didn't correct them. When someone asked if she was the Harlan girl, she'd nod slowly and vaguely, like she couldn't be sure, like the question didn't matter. Didn't someone used to live up there with her? A boy once asked his mother outside the feed store. Maybe, the woman said, or maybe we imagined it. The girl worked the land, quietly. She never sold anything, never bought much either, just enough to stay unseen. No animals, just empty pens. No garden, just long grass. The well still worked. The roof didn't leak. The mailbox leaned crooked on its post, and no one fixed it. She didn't care. Every Sunday someone drove past the ranch road too slow. A cousin from town, maybe. A new deputy trying to map old properties. A tax officer second-guessing paperwork he didn't understand. They all slowed down, but no one stopped. Not after the last one did and didn't come back. She remembered everything. She remembered the sound of boots on wood floors, the smell of rain after the earth opened its mouth, the hum in the barn, and the voice that had whispered, "Not yet, not yet, not yet." She remembered the doll with the wrong smile. The shoe was buried too close to the foundation, the letters sewn into a sleeve that should have burned faster than it did. Most of all, she remembered him. Sometimes she'd stand on the porch at dusk, arms crossed tight, eyes on the barn like it might speak again. But it didn't. Not anymore. I just watched it. The sheriff had retired years ago, moved 2 towns over. The last thing he'd said to her was strange, even for him. "You'll outlive all of us," he muttered, looking at her from his cruiser with a face too tired for paperwork. "That's the punishment, ain't it?" She hadn't replied, just nodded and turned away. He'd driven off and never returned. The teacher had passed. Cancer, they said. But in her last days, she'd written a list of names she couldn't forget. Her husband found it in the drawer beside her bed. Just names, scribbled out, rewritten, scratched again. One of them looked like a girl, but it wasn't finished. Just the first letter and then a long, shaking line. A woman from the county came once asking questions, said there'd been property confusion. Boundaries weren't right. The girl had stood in the doorway the whole time, not saying a word. The woman took one photo and then left. The photo never developed. Just a smear of gray. She filed it unresolved and never came back. One fall, a boy from the high school drove up the old dirt road on a dare. Said he'd knock on the porch and take a selfie with her if she answered. He never made it past the gate. Said later that the gate had whispered. No one believed him, but no one asked him to go back either. The girl didn't age like the others. Her hair stayed the same length. Her skin didn't wrinkle the way people expected. Some days she looked older than she should have been. Other days, younger. No one asked about her birth date. No one wrote it down. She kept to herself. but every so often she'd leave something on the porch. A folded piece of paper, a button, a small white stone. They'd be gone by morning. When the preacher's daughter got sick, the town whispered about curses. When the store caught fire for no reason, they blamed the wind. When the school shut down for a month because of mold no one could trace, people stopped asking where it came from. No one blamed her out loud, but no one invited her anywhere either. And still she stayed. The barn door remained shut. The salt circle inside faded with time. The ash turned to dust, but the floor never creaked. She sat at the table most nights with a candle and a notebook. Nothing written in it, just pages turned slowly, like she was looking for something that had never been recorded. When the candle burned too low, she'd press her finger to the wick. It never left a mark. She didn't speak much, but sometimes, just before sleep, she'd whisper one name to the ceiling. Always the same one. Short, simple, maybe his, maybe hers, maybe one she was trying to give back to the land. The house never answered. The field grew taller each season. The fence leaned more each year, but the house stood still. She never locked the door. She didn't need to. No one came, not because they couldn't, because they didn't remember how, and she liked it that way.